President Joe Biden on Friday instructed the U.S. State Department to release up to an additional $350 million worth of weapons from U.S. stocks to Ukraine, as the country struggles to push back a Russian invasion. In a memorandum to Secretary of State Antony Blinken, Biden directed that $350 million allocated through the Foreign Assistance Act be designated for Ukraine's defense. This marks the third time that the United States has drawn from its weapons to supply Ukraine, after doing so in the fall of 2021 and then again in December. Blinken on Saturday called the third authorization unprecedented. Over the past year, the United States has committed more than $1 billion to security assistance to Ukraine, Blinken said. Ukraine has been asking for Javelin anti-tank weapons and Stinger missiles to shoot down aircraft. Other nations have pledged military material to Kyiv, as Ukraine's military fights against an invading Russian force. The Netherlands will supply 200 Stinger air defense rockets, while Belgium has pledged 2,000 machine guns and 3,800 tons of fuel. France has decided to send defensive military equipment, while adding that the issue of sending offensive arms was still under consideration.
Russian forces pounded Ukrainian cities for a third day on Saturday with artillery and cruise missiles.
Всім доброго ранку.
But President Zelenskiy said the capital Kiev remained in Ukrainian hands, despite Russian forces only 30 kilometers away. Kiev's mayor warned saboteur groups were active in the capital, which is home to 3 million people. The nighttime curfew has also been extended. While the metro system is now serving only as an air raid shelter, hundreds of thousands have fled westwards. 100,000 refugees have crossed into Poland alone. Ukraine has prevented all men aged between 18 and 60 from leaving the country so they can fight. Almost 200 Ukrainians have been killed and over 1,000 injured. Ukraine has said more than 1,000 Russian soldiers have been killed, but no official Russian casualty figures have been released. The Kremlin said Putin had ordered troops to stop advancing on Friday, but that they were moving forwards on Saturday after Kiev refused to negotiate. Ukraine has denied it is refusing to negotiate. Russia's defense ministry said its forces had captured Melitopol, a city of 150,000 in southeastern Ukraine. Britain has cast doubt on the report. If confirmed, it will be the first significant population centre the Russians have seized. On Friday, Russia vetoed a draft UN Security Council resolution that would have condemned Moscow's invasion of Ukraine. China abstained from the vote. Putin has said he must eliminate what he calls a serious threat to his country from its smaller neighbour, and has cited the need to denazify Ukraine's leadership, accusing it of genocide against Russian speakers in eastern Ukraine, a charge dismissed by Kiev and its Western allies as baseless propaganda.
Mail-in ballots in Texas are being rejected left and right, according to local officials, as new Republican-backed voter ID laws kick in ahead of primaries for crucial midterm elections. Election officials in 6 of the state's largest counties, home to about a third of Texas's population, are reporting unprecedented amounts of invalid ballots. That's left officials scrambling to try and get voters to fix their ballots ahead of the March 1 deadline, and even some officials are confused about the new rules. Isabel Longoria is the elections administrator for Houston's Harris County.
Basically, 8,500 of the 28,000 mail ballots we've seen back, we've had to turn back and say, it's not going to work the way you've sent it to us.
That's largely due to a new requirement asking voters to include an ID number on their ballot envelopes, which are covered by a secret flap to protect voters' privacy. But officials say voters might be accidentally overlooking that crucial part of their ballots as a result. Not only that, Longoria says some voters have cited concerns about identity theft and including their personal information. That's on top of another new requirement for voters applying for mail-in ballots in the first place.
The new requirement for mail ballots under the new election laws, again, first election it's in place, says you must include either your social security number or driver's license number on the application and mail ballot itself for it to be counted. Not only that, but whatever number you put on the ballot has to match up with what we have in your system.
The state currently limits mail-in voting to voters who are over 65, disabled, ill, in jail, due to give birth immediately, or out of their home county on Election Day. Texas lawmakers approved the voting restrictions last September despite a months-long effort by Democrats to block it, which included some lawmakers fleeing the state. Texas is just one of several Republican-controlled states to pass new voting limits after former President Donald Trump spewed false claims of widespread voter fraud in the wake of his 2020 election loss. When asked about the unusually high number of invalid ballots, Texas Secretary of State John Scott's office referred Reuters to a statement it issued on Wednesday that laid out voters' options for correcting rejected ballots. The number of rejected votes is certain to rise, given the majority of mail-in ballots have not yet arrived at clerks' offices ahead of the March 1 primary.
The European Union and its partners are working to cripple Putin's ability to finance his war machine. I will now propose to EU leaders the following measures. First, we commit to ensuring that a certain number of Russian banks are removed from SWIFT. This will ensure that these banks are disconnected from the international financial system and harm their ability to operate globally. SWIFT is the world's dominant global interbank payment system. Cutting banks off will stop them from conducting most of their financial transactions worldwide and effectively block Russian exports and imports. Second, we will stop Putin from using his war chest. We will paralyze the assets of Russia's central bank. This will freeze its transactions, and it made it impossible for the central bank to liquidate assets. And finally, we will work to prohibit Russian oligarchs from using their financial assets on our markets. All of these measures will significantly harm Putin's ability to finance his war.
Наші дипломати боролися цілодобово.
Our diplomats fought around the clock and inspirationally for all European countries to agree on a strong and fair decision to disconnect Russia from the international interbanking network. We have also this important victory. This is billions and billions of losses for Russia, a tangible price for the vile invasion of our country. The world saw Ukrainians are strong, Ukrainians are powerful, Ukrainians are brave, Ukrainians are on their native land and they will never give it to anyone, will never betray.